If you're wanting to do the Elden Ring DLC, the Shadow of the Erdtree, this is everything you're going to need to give you the best chance possible. So technically the recommended level for Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree is between levels 120 to 150. This was the range that players who attended FromSoft's preview event were started at. The devs did actually say that the DLC could be started from around level 100. It would just be a bit more of a challenge. You'll be coming across enemies as tough as the enemies at Crumbling Faramazula and the Erdtree. So before anything, it would be a good idea to just power level and sink lots of it into vigor for the inevitable beatings you're about to take. The two best farms right now are in the Mogwin Palace area. Of course, the first being the Bird Albinoric farm at Palace Approach Ledge Road. So just spam the Albinorics with a weapon that can hit multiple enemies at once, such as the Rotten Breath incantation or the endgame Sacred Relic sword that does the Wave of Gold Ash of War. And then you can turn to your left and fire an arrow down at the giant bird monster. That will cause them to run off the edge and give you a huge stack of runes. Just make sure you have the Golden Scarab Talisman during all of this process for a boost in runes. The second way takes about 60 seconds once you know what you're doing, and it will net you around 400k each time, as long as you're quick. I'll share a part of the video I made so you don't have to click anywhere else. This is the ultimate prep guide after all. But of course, if you're already leveled or you just want to do the other farm, then you can skip ahead. From the Mausoleum Midpoint Site of Grace, turn to the northeast and walk to the edge of the cliff. You'll see a platform you can drop onto. From here, facing the southwest, jump forwards and to the right to land on this platform here. Now for the final part of this tricky jump, you just need to face the south, sprint forwards, and as soon as your character starts sliding down the slope, jump onto the platform in front of you. Follow my path around here and jump down the rocks from the northeast and climb the one directly in front of you. Now follow my path to the northeast until you reach the end. Then just turn your camera to the right. Here you've just got to call in Torrent and hop across to the other side. When you hit the other side, you'll automatically lose Torrent, but it is all good. Walk up this hill and then turn your camera to the southwest because you've got to climb this big ketchup stained rock. Now follow my path to the southeast and eventually start heading east. Grab Torrent again because it's nearly time to do the glitch. To the north, hop over the big gap with Torrent. And then just down these cliffs to the north will be a gap. There are two gaps here and I do get a little bit turned around at first, but just look at the one I head for and keep an eye on that compass. You'll know you're in the right place because the ground will keep freaking out like this. So at this point, before we jump in, I'd make sure you have the gold scarab for extra runes and make sure you've got a sword equipped because you're going to be swinging it. So it's glitch time. Face the hole whilst looking directly southeast. Now just drop in and then hit the jump button to land on a platform at the back of this cave. So just turn around so you can see the hole and just drop through it. Once you're out, quickly hit that double jump button because for some reason this stops you from dying. And all you've got to do now is keep swinging that sword and wait for all those lovely runes to pour in. Okay, so there are 4 bosses in the list here, each for different reasons. Firstly, the obvious you have to defeat is Mohg. This is because you'll actually enter the DLC through his boss room. There are 2 ways to get to Mohg. If you're early game, you'll want to talk to the White Mask Very NPC at the First Step Site of Grace. But if you're mid to late game and you have access to the consecrated snowfields, you know, by getting the 2 halves of the secret medallion and taking them to the Grand Lift of Rold, one half being in the Albinauric village and the other being at the back of Castle Sol. Well, once you use these to get to the consecrated snowfields, you can go to this location just by the yellow annex ruins. Then you'll be invaded by an NPC, and once you beat them, you'll have access to a teleporter located just here. This will take you straight to Palace Approach Ledge, everyone's favorite farming spot. From here, you just follow this path around until you reach Mohg. As for beating Mohg, you can either cheese him using this video I made right here, I'll pin it in the comments, or you can use a build that focuses on blood loss. Just make sure you have the purifying crystal tier, which is located here, and you will definitely need Mohg's shackle, which is located here. I also have videos on where to get those as well, but if I show you this process here, this video will be longer than the DLC itself. Next up, you'll want to defeat General Radahn, because his Great Rune is going to be crucial to your survival in the Shadow of the Erdtree. It boosts HP, FP, and stamina. Just use Rotten Breath on horseback for a very easy victory here. Next up, you'll want to defeat Renala, as you'll very likely want to keep respecking your character after all the new weapons you're going to find. To beat her, just use physical damage. Weapons like Rivers of Blood and Bloodhound's Fang work great here. Finally, you'll want to defeat Melania. The DLC is heavily focused around her brother Miquella, which likely means we'll get extra story, cutscenes, or dialogue at some point in the game if we've defeated Melania. I know beating the Blade of Miquella is one of the biggest challenges in Elden Ring, so it's easier said than done. But I do have a build here that makes the whole process pretty trivial. So firstly, I summon in Black Knife Titch because he moves around her like a monster and he doesn't give her a chance to hit. This also gives me a great chance to set up everything else, from drinking my Wondrous Physic to shooting my incantation. So for the spells and incantations, I have one. It's the Placidusic's Ruin. I probably said that wrong. I have this because in both phases of the fight, it knocks Melania to the ground, which is great for giving yourself a few seconds, and to give Black Knife Titch an opening to hit her with Destined Death 2 or 3 times. For armor, you only need to copy my helmet, which is the White Mask because it boosts damage when blood loss is in the vicinity. For weapons, I'm using Mohg's Sacred Spear, and I'm only using it for the Ash of War because spamming it destroys Melania. Wondrous Physic wise, I went for the Cerulean Hidden Tier and the Opaline Bubble Tier. The Cerulean Hidden Tier gives you infinite FP for a time, which means you can easily spam the Sacred Spear Ash of War for a long time before it starts depleting your FP. You can find the Cerulean Hidden Tier here. The Opaline Bubble Tier gives me a protective shield that lets me tank 1 hit without any issues. This is good if Black Knife Titch struggles to keep her attention for a second and you're in the middle of the spear animation. As for talismans, I'm running the Shard of Alexander, which greatly boosts the attack power of skills. You can get this by completing Alexander Warrior Jar's questline. The Carrion Filigreed Crest, which lowers FP consumed by skills. You can get that here. The Faithful's Canvas Talisman, which raises potency of incantations. You can find that here. And the Lord of Blood's Exaltation, which increases attack power when blood loss is in the vicinity. You can find that here. You'll want your favorite spirit summon boosted to +10 because there's a new mechanic called Revered Spirit Ashes that will allow you to go past the previous 10, and it will also give Torrent a well-needed buff too. If you're a magic wielder, you'll also need to get yourself the Cerulean Hidden Tier for your Wondrous Physic. You can find that here, but you will have to fight a mini-boss for it. You will also want the Erdtree's Favor +2, which will get you +4% HP, +9.6% stamina, and +8% equip load. You can get it from a corpse in Lanedale Ash Capital, which can only be accessed late game after defeating Malekith the Black Blade. This area is only accessible when approaching from the Forbidden Lands. You should definitely get all smithing and somber smithing stone bell bearings so that you can give them to the Twin Maiden husks at the round table. This way you can upgrade your weapons at any point, and all you'll need to worry about is the amount of runes needed. So to purchase Smithing Stone 1 and 2, you'll need to beat the boss in Raya Lucaria Crystal Tunnel. To buy Smithing Stone 3 and 4, you'll need to head to the Sealed Tunnel and you'll find the bell bearing in a chest. For Smithing Stone 5 and 6, from the Zama Ruins Site of Grace in Mountaintops of the Giants, head southeast through the ruins. You'll see some steps heading down, follow them down and open the chest for the bell bearing. For smithing stones 7 and 8, you'll be rewarded with the bell bearing for defeating the Godskin duo. If they're too tricky for you to beat, just shoot them with Cintrina's arrows. These arrows put them to sleep after 2 hits, and then they won't wake back up until taking damage. So make sure it's something that keeps them down. Then for Somber Smithing Stone 1 and 2, you can get the bell bearing from Celia Crystal Tunnel after defeating the boss. Somber Smithing Stone 3 and 4, you'll need to defeat the 2 crystal bosses in the Altus Tunnel. Somber Smithing Stone 5 and 6, the bell bearing is on a body outside the first church of Marika in the mountaintops of the Giants. Somber Smithing Stone 7 and 8, the bell bearing is on a body in crumbling Faramazula, just north of the tempest-facing balcony site of Grace. And for Somber Smithing Stone 9, from the Dragon Temple rooftop site of Grace, follow the path that leads to the big dragon firing lightning at you, past the dragon and head right. Follow the path until you see a temple with beastmen in it. Now just defeat the beastmen and loot them for the bell bearing. And for the final item, you will need Larval Tears. As mentioned earlier, the new weapons in the DLC will definitely make you want to respec a few times. And to do this for you, Renala needs Larval Tears. You can get quite a few of these in one playthrough, so it's easier if I just show you a map of where they're all located. And the final part of the checklist is to brush up on that Elden Ring lore. But don't worry if you don't know where to start. I made an Elden Ring lore for dummies video that simplifies it to the point that even someone with my IQ could understand what's going on. I'll pin that video in the comments and at the end of this video. Thanks for watching.